Same day, different job. Still the same day as last night's video or the last video I posted. But I'm pretty much just all over the board between, and you know what? That kind of bugged me because I didn't cut the bottom 2 days ago when I really could have, should have, you know, because I couldn't get down to the field, right? Or out to the valley, out to the bottom. Well, there's 2 driveways for that you can actually get down in there and work. Well, the driveway that has access from the upper field, the bench, when I checked it 3 nights ago, because whenever I make the hay down here, I always bring the 4-wheeler down the night before and then just run around, check for everything. The only reason that is, well, that can kind of burn you too is, and it did, I wasn't able to cut some of this field, is because a tractor weighs a lot more than that little 4-wheeler. So you're not really necessarily getting a great grasp as to whether or not the ground is dry enough to support a tractor. But you know, you can find standing water, which is what I had on that other driveway in the field. So I wrote that off, that, well, if there's standing water there's no way I'm taking the tractor out across that. Well, as you guys know, I had the rhino cutter down here, and I got done with what I was doing. I was ready to actually head back home and get this, when I thought, you know, why don't I cut across the field and I'll back the rhino cutter through that driveway, get the grass that's there as much as I dare, you know, cut out, so that way the sun and the wind and the air can just get to it and start drying the ground out. Well, it's amazing what 2 days will do, because I commenced to back the rhino back through that driveway, and I mean, there was water standing there. I mean, I was cutting ruts with the 4-wheeler, backed right through it with the tractor and rhino mower. So in 2 days it dried out enough, the water had dried up, the ground had firmed up enough where I could actually drive out through there. So the big reason that I had the rhino cutter was to get the roadways cleaned out, dried out, so I could get that hay made. Hindsight is 20/20, because if I would have went down and cut the valley, cut the bottom out, like I know I could have cut it, it was the driveways that were stopping me. Well, if I would have taken the risk, and you know, there's calculated risks with everything when you're trying to make hay down here. If I would have went out, cut it, tedded it, that stuff down there is going to have to get tedded twice. This stuff it's green-ish, but for being cut for less than 24 hours, I mean, the stuff back here, you guys will see when I turn around, I mean, that stuff is already, I can almost run that through the baler at this point. But that was cut yesterday morning at about 11. It is mid to late afternoon, and this stuff here, and then once we got over on the fingers, it was cut later in the day, didn't have as much sunlight on it. It's a little green yet, but you can definitely tell the moisture's coming out of it. That is one of the soft spots. Even the soft spots that I had the diff lock on and the front wheel assist, I mean, this is probably the worst one here, are already starting to firm up. I'm running in 2-wheel drive, so I mean, the front wheels aren't doing anything. I can just, I don't know if you guys, can you hear the tractor at all? I mean, that right there, that's what you're looking at. That's the mud hole of this farm that you got to be careful of. I don't know if you heard the tractor at all, but the tractor did kind of pull down a little bit. The tires weren't digging, but I can see the tracks are, I can see the tread, they were definitely working. So At least we didn't break into mud. It's still dry soil, dry dirt. So where am I at as far as making hay this year? I'm at 102 bales total. This is going to yield heavier than originally planned. It's variable. It's heavier on the west side working east, but even the stuff over here that I have tedded already, it's going to make hay. It basically just boils down to what's it going to do. What's it going to do in the bale? I make 5x5 round bales, 5 feet wide, and I have it set for 5 feet tall bales, and 1,600 pound, give or take, per bale. I don't know. I'm not going to sit and guess. My goal when I started this year overall was about 600 bales. To be honest, it was 600 bales, not including what I have to feed my cows. So I guess I was looking for about 600 bales that I'd be able to market. That means I need about, let's just say 750 overall. I probably have that number set a little too high as far as how many I need, because I will be able to feed. I mean, I'll be making corn fodder this fall. I'm actually looking at making, I have a 50-acre farm I'm thinking about making the bean stubble off of. There is demand for that throughout the winter if you watch the market. So I might just even make 20-30 bales and see if it's worth it. But between the tedder and the rhino equipment in general has really made making this farm, I mean, there's over 100 acres down here. It really has made making this stuff a lot easier than what it was back in 2015, because we still had, the tractors are the same of course, but we were using the same disc bind, no tedder, and all we had was that Gale rake. And that thing was shot back when we were milking cows yet. It was just very well used. It's not a high capacity, it's not a high clearance. It's got the bars in the center of the machine that they like to grab hay when you're driving over hay that you've already made, because as much as you like to not have to do that, it happens. Same thing. I'm not getting any moisture on the tires, so I figure I'm good. This is a great hay farm. I mean, I didn't make this last year. It's two separate farms, but you guys, if you're tried and true and long-term viewers of how farms work, you guys probably recognize this place. Really planning on making hay down here for the foreseeable future. Just as long as you got to be able to manage it right. Now that I have the sprayer, granted it's not a super duper big one, but a 300 gallon, 3-point gallon sprayer, I think is a good way to get my foot in the door and actually get comfortable with spraying our own crops, namely hay, and then expand into even doing more of our own pre-emerge and weed control, because I didn't get first crop sprayed with fertilizer like I would have liked, and it shows, or post first cut. So after we took first crop off, I wasn't able to get the fertilizer down. The field ground looks like another week. Honestly, we could have come down and cut it the other day, but I want to see a little bit more growth on the edge. Just starting to head out now, so hopefully the rest of the field will kind of catch up. It'll even out, and if the stars align properly, I'm already leaning towards making the field ground, the bench ground, and the valley the bottom ground all in the same run. That'd be nice for cutting, tedding, baling, raking, baling, hauling in, and then putting fertilizer down, because it would be nice if I could just come down and do everything in one go. But the problem is, and it's a good problem, is that first crop is always really heavy on the tonnage, and then it turns into an issue of being able to cover everything fast enough. We have 2 disc binds at the moment. That is just a demo. I kind of touched on that in the last video. If we had another tractor that was a little bit more accommodating, because here's the problem with the other 3. 40/20, completely disregard the fact that it's an open station. It does have a cab. It's a partial station, you know. It can run 540 and 1,000, but its drawbacks are the fact that it is narrowed up. This farm down here that I run, the valley, it has a unique characteristic about it. It has the flattest ground, the most consistent flat ground that we run, and it also has the steepest ground that we're able to farm. I mean, those hills are steep enough. You can't be stupid with what you're doing. So the 40/20 being narrowed up, when it does come down here, you have to be very conscious about where you're at and what you're doing, and making sure that you're not putting the tractor in a compromising position where you could roll it. I don't like narrowing tractors up. If that 40/20 is the only tractor we ever narrow up, I'm okay with that. We're not the type of people that are going to narrow and then widen up and then narrow and then widen up our machinery throughout the year, or year in, year out. We just won't. I guarantee you that. The 4640, it's a lumbering horse. Not nearly as bad as the 8235 would be, but the 4640 only has 1,000 RPM. 40/20 has both, but it only has 1 SEV, which even with the Fosse valve, it can get kind of tedious running it. I mean, we've done it, but once again, when it comes to making hay, the 40/20 really works best on the New Holland rake, and even pulling hay bales in with the bale carrier. The 46, you've seen us put it on the Rhino rake. Works really good for that. I like it for that job. But it is a very long tractor. It is noticeably longer than the 74. 74, yeah, I'm reminiscing now. Longer than the 7600. Can't use any of the 540 implements on it, so I can't use it for tedding, you know, but it's so big, why would you, right? I could put it on the baler, but the problem with that then is power isn't an issue. The 40/20, I pull the 7600 down with that round baler. Plus, now that you're towing around 50 gallons of liquid on the tongue, plus the narrowed up part, so you can't pass drive over your windrows. But the 4640's transmission, it's the quad range, or whatever the technical term is that everyone wants to use, depending on where you're at and who you are. The problem with using the 46 is you're either driving too fast or too slow. That was Ryan's problem with using the 4640 on the disc bind last year. I don't think he really has an issue with it on that Coon, but it's also a wider machine, and you can actually compromise a little bit. You can drive a little bit slower and still get done in a decent amount of time. That's the next step up size-wise from our mower. That's a is it a 13 foot? 13 foot. Ours is 11.5, which I like ours. I'm actually in the camp of I would rather look at buying another disc bind and running 2. We haven't done it yet this year. We got this close, but I don't think our hay acres are going to drop anytime soon. I just don't. And setting ourselves up to be as efficient as possible. I like running the Rhino rig. The 4640 handles it just fine, and having another tractor like the 7600 with the front wheel assist, you got more traction. The tires are widened out enough, which with the front wheel assist, you got that stability. I can take this on hills down here that I won't take the 46, the 4020 on. Just in general, just common sense, just you know better. As far as putting the duals on the 46 or the 76 to have more stability, that goes right back to I'm not going to take the duals on and off just to make a crop of hay. That's why we took the duals off the 46, because we knew we'd be using it for making hay more this year, and we're trying to reduce the amount of wear and tear on the tires on the duals. Plus, when you're running duals, the outer tires will skid more on the ground, and you actually tear up your hay ground. For those that are wondering, what am I doing? See this lever right here? That controls my raise and lower for the wings. It folds it's a single acting cylinder. It folds the tedder up. What I'm doing right here, I gotta start explaining what I do when just people are curious. What I'm doing, it adjusts the fore and aft, how aggressive the teeth are on the tedder. So it picks the teeth up, or the baskets. So this is the basket. It's picking the basket up or leaning it forward. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have a little bit of uneven ground, and I do not want to do tillage with this thing. That's the only drawback I have to these teeth. The teeth break easily. But I also bought a full set for like 200 bucks off Herschel parts. I found them down at the Louisville Farm Show, so benefits to go on one of those ag shows. But the plan is, today's the 2nd. Ideally, we'd make this on the 4th. Problem is, we got people coming. We have all of our family coming, and it's just one of those things where hay is getting pushed on the back burner. Granted, hay right now is it's not just cow feed, so if it gets out of condition, whatever, I'm making it to sell it. I'm trying to make quality, because diversify, guys. Just raise corn and beans when you have a bunch of ground that actually does a better job at producing hay than it ever did making corn and beans. So that's where I'm at with that one. As far as running another tractor, back to it, the 82 is like a lumbering horse. The first year we had the 82, we took the duals off. Really not that big of a deal, but it's heavy, it's long, it's unhandy. If anything, I would use it for cutting hay or round baling. That's why we actually switched the gearbox over on the round baler. Our baler used to be set up for 540, and we switched it over to 1000, so we could put the 46 and the 82 on it in a pinch. The 82, you take the duals off of it, that tractor sits so tall, I don't know how comfortable I would be taking it on hills. Again, on hills. I just know what I like. I know what I like to run, and I know what I trust. I know the capabilities of our machinery, and that's why I'm at where I'm at when it comes to that. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, I guess. I keep explaining myself, and to some people it just doesn't make sense to them, but it works great for us. I would like a 30 series, a 74, 75, 30, potentially with a loader on it. I would really prefer a 75, 30. There's a beautiful one out there right now that I made the mistake of finding. I'm not going to be buying it, but that's the crummy part about finding equipment you want. In all honesty, back early spring, back late winter, I found a bunch, and they were American. They were in America. They were whatever. I don't like how the European tractors are set up. I know Wes does. He doesn't have a problem with them. I just like that they're set up for the American use. There were a couple really nice 7710, 6710, and two 7810s south of here in Illinois for about $50,000. So that just makes sense. I can buy two for the price of one if I really wanted to spend $100,000 for two tractors and get two that way, as opposed to just one tractor. So that's enough for this video. I have to finish up. I gotta go finish up and get out of here. And luckily, quoting a pretty popular song, oh, there's a mistake. There's that 7530 I was telling you about. I haven't had to hit the diff and pray yet. So I got about 5 acres to go and I want to get this done. So with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. Stay tuned for raking, baling, hauling, spraying videos. You guys know just as much as I do whether or not we'll get them posted or not. So stay tuned.